Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to Artist on Lockdown. I'm Onesti from the historic Arcada Theater in St. Charles, just outside of Chicago. This week's edition of Artist on Lockdown, oh my goodness, what a big show. First, let me bring on my co-hosts, my older brothers. I think, well, Vinny, I think we might be close to age, the same age. Vinny Appice from Dio, Black Sabbath, and Last in Line, and our older brother, yeah, Vanilla Fudge, the Rod Stewart Band, just so many other things he's been involved with. A legend himself, Mr. Carmine Appice. Welcome, welcome, welcome. And to this week, we are hanging and banging with the guy, Iron Maiden. 45 years ago this year, they started on Christmas Day. He has appeared on 13 of 16 studio albums, 2,000 appearances, 90 to 100 million albums sold. I know it's crazy. It's crazy, right? Nicko McBrain, welcome.
Yeah, dude. Hey, you're on, Vinny, Carmine. Lovely to see you. And you lot out there in the great big out there.
Now, Nicko, you got to notice the T-shirt he's wearing.
Yeah, that's
every act we have on, he wears the T-shirt.
Yeah.
You know what? This has just been a great personal, wonderful experience for me. Again, I'm with these legends, Vinny, Carmine, their friends, our friends. To have you on this show is really something. And we've had a lot of, all true, real rock stars, metal bands. You're a metal superstar. But as much as you're a metal superstar, hanging and banging, I'm going to say something here. You got one of the best smiles in rock and roll. I'm just going to.
Oh, thank you so much, mate. And I love that shirt, by the way. Top form, buddy. What kudos to you. Thank you so much. Thank you for that. This is the thing. I'm the best looking bloke in the band, and they stick me up the back. It is a true story. Real quick.
Yep.
4 years ago, I said to Steve Harris, I said, you know what? I said, I'd really like to go back to a 5-piece drum set. I'll keep the same amount of cymbals because I love me cymbals. And I said, what do you think of that then? He went, no. Put his hand down on his hip. No chance. And I went, why's that then? He said, if you've got a small drum kit, all the girls are going to be out to see you and we won't get a look in. So I rest my case, I went, okay. Honestly, it's a true story, boys and girls.
We talk about the smile.
You can't see Nicko anyways. The drums are too high.
That's very true. Even if I had a 5-piece, it'd be up in the air.
Yeah. Get them, telling you, lower them.
Nicko, I touched on your smile here, but it just seems, I'm a huge fan, and all the videos or all the live performances that I've seen, you just seem like you are just having a great time. This as much fun now. Is it as much fun now as it was back when you started?
Yeah. I've been blessed in my career. I've always, prior to Maiden, I played with some phenomenal musicians and great bands. But when I joined Maiden, the one thing that really stood out and stands out for me today is there's no difference between the guys when I first joined in 1983 to today. There's no, Bruce may be a little bit, he was a front man. He had a little bit more of an ego in the early days, in the 80s and 90s. Then he kind of calmed down, and now he's just an amazing pilot, author, fencer, all kinds of stuff. But there's no change. Everybody in their personality is the same. There's no airs and graces. I must admit, the second year I was touring with the band, I got a little bit starstruck, to be honest, and I was like being a bit rude to people and telling people in hotels, "Do you know what a do not disturb sign means? It means do not fucking
Oh, it's okay. We're good.
It's okay. We're on the internet.
I wasn't going to swear. Honestly, I swear. I wasn't going to swear. Right?
You can't say disturbed.
You what, mate?
You can't say disturbed.
Okay. So anyway, yeah. So yeah, it's great, and I think after all these years, I'm getting actually to play things right, and so there's a joy in that for a start. So, it's great, mate. It really is. You know, every tour is immense, and every tour is better than the one prior to it. So, you know, as it is when, you know, ain't it, guys, Vinny, Carmine, when you make a new record, people say, "Well, what's it like?" And you go, "It's the best thing we've ever done."
Yeah, right.
You said that 3 albums ago, right? You know,
It's always the same, right?
Yeah, and so. Yeah, it is, Ron. Thanks, mate. You know, it really, this band, I think the reason it's so popular is because we're all true to ourselves, to what it was about when we all first picked up a pair of drumsticks to learn our trade. Excuse me, and you want to play music because you love it and have a passion, and it's still there today with these guys, all of them.
Yeah. And you can see it. You know, we went back. We're going back to the beginning just a little bit here. Your influences: Ringo, Keith Moon, Charlie Watts, John Bonham, and also your brother on this thing here, Mr. Carmine.
Yes.
When did you guys meet?
Say again. Sorry.
When did you guys meet?
Oh, well, oh gosh, I've met Carmine in Germany. We were in Dortmund in 1983, Christmas, just before Christmas. Carmine was playing with Ozzy.
Right.
And you and I, and actually, I was in the corridor behind the gig. It was one of those, I forget, the Philips Halle, I think it was in Dortmund.
Yeah, I know that. Yeah,
remember that?
That's on YouTube now. That
yeah, and that's when actually Eddie got, you know, Dave Murray stuck his guitar through Eddie's chest, and we had a guy in there on stilts, and a guy called Warren Poppy. Apparently, the guitar neck missed his head by about 5 inches.
Oh,
they rammed it in, and honestly, he could have killed him. You know,
wow.
You know?
Yeah, so you were just in the band not that long.
I'd had a year with them, and you Bob.
I was with Ozzy about 2 months at that point.
Yeah, I didn't know that song, but we first met there, and Vinny, gosh, I can't remember. It was when you were with Ronnie. We did some shows way back together. Must have been mid-late 80s, I think.
I got a poster up there, Super Rock 1992, Iron Maiden with special guest Black Sabbath. You can only see the bottom. Slayer, Halloween, Wasp.
Oh, my.
Germany.
Where was that from? That poster?
Mannheim, Germany, 1992.
Yeah, I think that was a Monsters of Rock one.
Yeah, that was Black Sabbath, but we used to come to the Dio shows and get up and play Rainbow in the Night.
Exactly.
we called it Rainbow in the Night. It's Rainbow in the Dark.
Right, yeah.
Nicko would show up. I go, "You want to play?" He go, "Yeah," because Ronnie loves Nicko. Ronnie adores Nicko.
I could never do that track justice like you played it, mate. Honestly,
but it was so much faster.
Never.
So he'd get up and play at a lot. I think you played it 4 or 5 times, different shows. And because we'd hang out, you know.
And then Carmine, the next time you and I actually met after the first time was at your gig, Vinny, at the Hammersmith Odeon.
Oh, that's when I went to join Blue Murder.
Yeah, and I was sitting behind you, Vin, at Hammersmith Odeon. It's got to be early 90s, hasn't it, Carmine?
It was actually, when I went that time, it was 88 or 89.
Okay, it was late 80s, Vin.
Yeah.
I sat behind you, and I was sitting to your right. and I was crouched down behind your drum riser. This in case you had a big kit, but not with like that DW kit you used to have with the spring and shit.
Yeah.
Did you get that spring and give it a good good?
You know, that effect was, you know, I used to pull the drum down, hit it, and it rocked, both of them.
Yeah, and the whole thing would be, and you see the whole kit was moving. It was really cool.
It cost $10 for a big bungee cord. And it was the best reaction. I had laser drumsticks and, you know, the thing. And the $10, it was 20, one per side. Oh, even the girls noticed. Oh my God, the drum! Oh,
see, the girls noticed.
And the girls,
that's right.
They didn't go to the bathroom.
Vinny, hold on a minute. Ron, by the way, I'm just going to interject here. We're talking about the fellas at the back of the gig. 9 times out of 10, we are the best looking guys in the band. Right? Secondly, the drummers always do it with rhythm. And most importantly, this one, it should be the first, really. The drummer is always right.
But here's the thing: you say that, but you know that brings up an interesting point because of your style. You know, the galloping style that you go back and forth with Steve. Is the drummer always right? Who's the one that's leading that charge?
It's Mark.
It's the drummer.
I must admit, okay, I was talking about this very kind of thing with yesterday, Carmine, and we were talking about speed and certain bands and who you play with. You're playing on the back of the fill, you're playing to a metronome, or in the case of Maiden, we were talking about how even 80s and 90s, we would just drive and the speeds didn't really matter. It was how it felt. And there were some times when I would go on stage and I'd think, I don't think I played this a bit too quick. Say, for instance, Trooper, you know, and I'd get going and that gallop, it would get running away with itself. And there was a couple of times when I would be playing and I'd hold it back and I'd go, right, I'm sitting on the meter more this time. And Harry would come up in front of me and he'd come up and he'd go, oi! And what? He'd go, have you had a J Arthur before the gig tonight or something? You're playing like an old man. And I go, well, I am an old man because I'm the granddad in the band, right? I'm 4 years older than everybody else. But, you know, the thing is that it's really driven by both of us. You know, if I'm kind of slightly on the back, like Carmine and I, we were talking about this the other night, he'll come out and he want to drive it. Steve wants to, for me and him to lock in and push. And like we're the actual, you know, it's the analogy of the freight train. You got the engine and the one that's pulling and one that's pushing. And that's the sort of deal that we are. We're married in that respect, you know. So, but it's really down to me. I have to dictate that pace.
Yeah,
of course, it's going to originate with you and obviously the drummer. Let's go back to your 11-piece kit. I mean, you know, obviously you're very famous for that. You know, Neil Peart's been around. You know, obviously we just lost him, but he's had that for many years. Did you? I mean, do you think you had it before him? Do you think he? I mean, did you guys base it off each other at all?
Wait a minute. I had it first.
Well, hang on, Vinny, bear me out here. How many bass drums do you play with?
One.
Yeah. How many bass drums do you play with, Carmine?
Well, now I play with a smaller kit.
Smaller kit. Nicko and I are the only ones really in rock with one bass drum almost.
Well, you know, okay. So, Carmine, you always had a big kit. I mean, I saw a piece of footage with you playing a premiere set, and I had no idea that you.
That was a big kit. That was Blue Murder. Yeah.
That
was 6 toms, 2 aerial toms, snare, bass drum, and whose kid's that? Is that Nicko? Yeah, that's Nicko. Yeah. Wow. And I had a timpani and a gong.
Yeah, that gong. You got a 52, right?
I got a 52, yeah. I showed you the picture. It's got a big pimple on it now.
Yeah.
It cracked. And Pace, they had to weld it, but it's still sound.
Yeah. So Ron, I think that you know, Mooney was one of my, you know, one of my heroes. He was the first drummer after Ringo and Charlie Watts I heard in my generation. I was like, oh my God, who is this fella? Right. You know, and of course, being I was living in England and in London, and these boys are all based in London. Yeah. Got to see him on the telly, and everything was live in the 60s. There was no pre-recorded stuff. Right. And Mooney, I actually did a gig with Streetwalkers, and I did a gig.
Here we go again. Here we go again.
It was called "Who Put the Boot In." Yeah. What a great name for a show! Who Put the Boot? Because they did 3 football stadiums, right? Wow. There was Crystal Palace. Crystal Palace, Rangers, and
Crystal Palace wasn't. We played there with Jeff Beck, BBA. That was some sort of it was a stadium.
The Crystal Palace gigs were probably I forget what they called it. It was Al Fandari. Remember we were talking about the managers.
Yes, Giorgio.
They promoted. Oh, there you go. There's Bobby and
Bobby Tench. Yeah.
There he is, the boy we were talking about last night.
Yeah.
Look at that. Look at
that. Is that you?
Yeah.
What's with the hair?
What you mean? I don't have any.
No, you got black hair there.
Yeah. Look. See the root?
I didn't know you were bleaching. Yeah. I know Roger. I remember Roger.
Bobby Patel on bass. He passed away.
Bobby Tench. Bobby came with us on when we first joined Jeff Beck. We had the singer named Kim Milford, who was horrible, and we fired him off the tour, and we got Bobby back. Yeah. In the middle of the tour, Bobby flew in, and he started, and that was the first tour we did with Jeff Beck. And we sort of built it into. Instead of it being BBA, we started with the Jeff Beck group. Then the next tour was the Jeff Beck group featuring me, Tim, and Jeff. And then the next one was BBA. But on that one, Bobby flew in, and he's what a great guy. What a great voice.
Voice. Such a great. He's such a great blues man. He's a journeyman. You know. He's got such a great voice. So soulful. Yeah. But so if you see that kit I was using, that was a 5-piece Heyman. We were talking about Colosseum and John Eisner. And that was the kit that was silver originally, and I had it painted because all the back line was white. Artwork, right? So when we played the Hoop, we did the 3 gigs on the bill. There was Little Feat, the Chieftains, Jess Roden, Streetwalkers. Alex Harvey Band was special guests to the Who, right. And all of these bands did the 3 shows. They, you know, and in fact, I do believe that Little Feat, when they played that show at the Crystal Palace Bowl or the Crystal Palace Stadium, it was their first British date. And in fact, when they went on stage, some twat in the audience threw a freaking bottle and he hit old George on the forehead and cut his forehead, and he buggered off. Don't blame him, right? So they cut their set. Of course, a great Richie Hayward on drums with Little Feat. Oh, my Lord. So anyway, I went – this gig, Mooney had like, I don't know, he must have had like at least 14 tom-toms. He had a rack of 4 up. He had 4 up on the side here. He had two banks of 3 in front of him, bunch of floor toms, 2 bass drums, no hi-hat.
He never used a hi-hat.
No. And I don't think he really used the left bass drum either. He only used. I said to him, "Why don't you use it?" He said, "I can put the top on the bass drum."
Just for looks. You know, when we played the first time in England with Vanilla Fudge, we played with the Who at the Savile Theatre. You know the Savile, right? And we knew that they were going to go on. They're going to have a lot of amps, and Mooney's going to have a lot of drums. I had 1 bass drum, 1 tom, and one floor tom. You know, so our tour manager was this guy named Bruce Wayne that used to work for the Yardbirds. Okay. So we said, man, we got to get some more amps. We can't just go on with an organ and a Leslie and a drum set. So we borrowed the Yardbirds equipment. And we had piles of Vox amplifiers that were about 6 to 7 feet high, you know?
Yeah.
So when the show started, there was a light that came down from the top of the theater, came all the way down onto my bass drum, which said Vanilla Fudge. And all you saw was the little red lights from the amplifiers, like I don't know how many there were. Might have been 25 lights.
Yeah.
Lights. And we didn't use any of them, but it was just looked great.
Yeah. We did a tour. I think a No Prayer for the Dying tour, where we just had we didn't have a stage set as such, you know, like we have the built ones with the walkways and all that. And all it was marshals. You know, I mean, a lot of people have done it since and have done it before us, but that's the great. They're not all working, but they're all the lights are. Yeah,
like the old days, like with Hendrix, he'd have 3 stacks of marshals. They were all working.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Noel Redding had 3 stacks of marshals. They were all working. And Mitch, poor Mitch, had no monitors. Nothing. That's why I let him use my drum. I was telling you yesterday, I had these dual Shulman amplifiers with a 5-input Shure mixer with 5 Shure mics 57s on my drums. And Mitch said, "Hey, come on, you mind if I use your drum amps?" I said, "No problem." So we used the amps for Mitch too, and we had 2 dual Shulman cabinets in the front of the Voice of the Theaters.
Yeah,
it was so funny.
Yeah. So actually, Ron, to answer, excuse me, to answer your question, I think when I saw that kit of Mooney's, I thought, I'll put a 5-pitch kit, you know. Although that Heyman, I had a set of staccato drums on the left side of an 8, 10, and 12. Not at that show with the Street Walkers. This came later, but when I was with Pat, I had that. I recorded Making Magic with that Heyman kit, and we'll talk about Pat in a minute. But so that's when the staccatos were introduced. But when I was with Pat, he turned around and said, "Oi," he said, "I think you need a bigger kit." And I went, "Really?" He said, "We're heavy rock now." He said, "We're just 3 of us, Miles Cowley on bass and Pat and myself." He said, "I want you to get a big kit." I went, "Really?" I said, "You're going to pay for it then?" He said, "Well, I want to work something out." So I went down to my local music shop, right? And I walked in. It was Berry's Music in Haringey, in Green Lanes in North London. And I walked in, and the guy, you know, one of the lads who works there, he said, "Oh, what do you want now then, Nick?" I said, "I want to get a big F-off drum set." Oh, he said, "Take a look at this." And he slid this brochure from Sonar across the, you know, and I opened it up. And the first page I opened in the middle, a 2-page spread of this silver double bass drum. You like this, Carmine? 2 bass drums, 9 tom-toms, and a snare drum, right? And well, you know, 9 hanging toms, floor tom, bass, and 2 bass drums and a snare. So I thought, oh, okay, I like that. And it was a concert kit, you know, no, what's one head on the top, and I thought, right, I'll go for this. So I called up Sonar. I got hold of Horst Link, the owner of Sonar, and I asked him. I said, "I'm playing with this whiz kid guitar player, young Canadian kid. He's like 20 years old, 22." And I said, "I really like your XK9212 series drum set. I think you can give me one." And he turned around. This is no word of a lie. He said to me, "So, Nicko, have I pronounced your name right?" I said, yeah. He said, "So, Nicko, do Rolls Royce give away their..." And I said, "Oh, I don't know. I shouldn't imagine so." He said, "Well, we are the Rolls Royce of drums, and no, we're not giving you a drum set." So that was my attempt at getting endorsed by Sonar. But I did a deal with the band, and the owner rep was out in Birmingham. A guy called Gordon Williamson, I think. And he said, "Well, I'll give you the kit at wholesale price was £600 in 1976. So what's that? Probably $2,000. It was like $4 to the pound in those days."
Yeah.
And he said, "But you have to give me your drum set," which would have been Heyman. And I said to him, "Well, look, I'll tell you what." I said, "Instead of you taking my drum set, I'll give you £100. How's that?" Oh, he said, "No." He said, "The deal is we have to take your drum set." I said, "Exactly why would you want to take my drum set?" He said, "So we know you wouldn't use it again." said, excuse me, I'm going to swear. I said, you're full of shit. And he went, well, how dare you speak to me like that? I said, no, you are. I said, do you want £100 or not? So he basically didn't take the £100. I still kept my Heyman kit, and I got that first drum set I used with Pat for 600 quid.
Wow.
I think Pat's watching this show, Nicko, because I told him you're going to be on it.
Patrick, do you want me to tell him the story of when you fired me?
Oh.
Why not? You open that up. You open up.
Listen, look, here we go. Oh, Rock Palace, Germany.
Oh, look at that.
Feeling right.
Love the hat.
Yeah. That was in my tour days. I used to wear hats all the time. Hey, Pat, look how good you look.
Look at that. Oh, my God.
Wow. Oh, great. So, I did the first album.
What year was that?
That was 76.
Wow.
The first album I did with Pat was Making Magic, and I used my Heyman. This drum kit what I'm using here was supplied by the studio, the Rock Palace people. Mars Cowlin, bless him. We lost him 2 years ago now.
Mars, bass player, right? Mars?
Yeah, super sad. You know, I all my life I've been blessed to play with absolutely phenomenal bass players, and he was. They broke the mold with him, but so the Making Magic record Pat and I played on and did was the Heyman kit. Then after Pat said, you know, look, we're going to be playing bigger places, and you know we're going to go out, you know, we're going to hit the stars. And I went, okay. So we got the big kit, and then I used that kit on Putting It Straight, and of course, you know, going from a 5-piece drum set, even with, you know, an 8-piece really, because I had the 3-row, you know, the staccato drums. In fact, I was a director of that company for a couple of years, funny enough. There's another story though. Anyway, you know, so after, you know, we went off and played, we did a bunch of tours together across the country in Europe, and then we went to America. We recorded it at Wessex Sound, I think it's called Wessex Sound in Toronto. We spent like 6 weeks there doing that album. And then after that, we went on tour. And I'm not sure if it was with Mahogany Rush. I think it might have been with Pat would fit in. You know, my memory's not as good as it should be, boys and girls, so just bear with me. But then when Pat and I split up, unfortunately, I kind of was parted away from that drum set. But the company that I was managing Pat, and there was a guy called David Hemmings, bless his heart. We lost him, must be in the early 80s, but he was working with a company called Anna Carter. And I moved from Pat into, funny enough, a band that with a guy called Derek O'Neill, who was also a Canadian guitar player, who was a really good friend of Pat's. And I ended up playing in a band called Fury with him. And I went up to the management and I said, "Oh, listen, this bastard's fired me and he's nicked my drum set." Pat will deny it. No, he won't. He'll probably go, "Yeah, I fucking kept it."
It's okay.
That's two now.
That's two. Remember, we're not on TV.
No, I know, mate, but you know, we might have little ones watching. So anyway, Anna Carter turned around, and a guy called Mickey Dolan turned around and said, "Look," he said, "like, we're going to buy another kit." So I went back to Sonar and I tried the same scam. Hello, Mr. Link. This is Nicko. I've already bought one of your kits. This second kit cost 800 quid. So a few years later, it was £800, and I've still got the from the very first drum set that I bought. I've still got the second bass drum that never got used, and it's in a warehouse back in England. And
I used to have my original drum set that I did on "You Keep Me Hanging On." Then I gave it to Vinny. And he ruined it.
Where is it?
Well, that's probably in the garbage. What happened was it was a classic what was it, Gretsch or Ludwig? Red Sparkle.
It was a Gretsch drum kit with a Leedy Ludwig bass drum. And did you have the 26 or did you end up with the 24, the 22?
24 or 22. 22.
22. Okay, you had the original. It was a Gretsch drum kit with a Rogers snare drum.
That's a classic kit, right? So Carmine went to Ludwig and he got the maple finish drums, and I was like, wow, that's really beautiful. You know, maybe if I take the red sparkle off, I can make it look like these maple drums.
You what? You took the wrap off?
Yeah. So
and you know the glue is so heavy, that glue.
Back then it was probably all poisonous glue. It was so strong anyway. Half the wood came with it.
Not surprised.
I ruined it. So what am I going to do? So I covered it in vinyl, really horrible brown.
Oh, that brown. Oh, right, that ugly brown vinyl.
Horrible,
stick on the stuff you use like in your closet.
Not even.
Oh,
I think it was the clearance section.
I mean, if we would have had that kid, that was the classic kid.
Yeah, that was
Oh my God.
yeah.
I don't even know what I did with the 26-inch bass drum at that point.
I don't know.
I thought you had it.
Now, at one point, I have a picture of me, and I'm using 2 bass drums, which I don't even remember.
Well, I'm not surprised, Vin.
Yeah.
2 bass drums now. You just blown my bubble forever.
Well, I think it was only for a week.
Well, you got to try it out, you know.
I remember Vinny saying, I'm not going to play 2 bass drums because you're known for 2 bass drums. I'm just going to play 1.
Yeah.
I did the same thing when I joined Sabbath. I had this little kit, 2 toms and 2 toms, and I went to play with an audition in LA. And they said, okay, well, let's do it. And then Tony wanted me to have a bigger kit, like double bass. I said, I don't play double bass. So that's how I started adding all the drums and floor until I got to that other kit with everything all over the 21 pieces all over.
Oh my gosh. There he is. Look at that.
There it is.
That guy, wow.
Yeah.
Oh my
That's
goodness.
just crazy. You know, we talked a little bit about Nicko, about the raps. You know, legendary also. Your raps, your artwork on your drums. How much earlier did you start with that? And who's responsible for the design and actually doing the artwork?
Well, I think really the very first drum set I ventured into that realm of, you know, trying to use the visual of the drum set as part of the stage set. Was with when we did Give Me Ed tour in 2003, I think it was 2003 or 5. I had a drum set painted, airbrushed with a different Eddie, black and white Eddie on each drum. And a guy called Wayne Saunders did it. He worked for a company out in Coventry that built show cars, you know, like so a Bentley, Maserati, right? They got a new car and they present it at a car show, and you think, oh, that looks gorgeous. Well, it does, because it's all hand built, and all the wood, you know, in those cars is not actually wood, not what they use when they put the production line. A guy actually paints that.
Oh, I see.
Did you know that, gentlemen? I don't know.
No.
I'm giving away a trade secret here, and I don't. That because when
I didn't know that.
it's flawless, right? Not to say that pieces of walnut or whatever, you know, beautiful exotic woods you put in these top of the line cars, but the guy I went to see him, and just because he was an incredible car builder of all these special motor cars. And my mate from Jaguar took me, a guy called Steve Smith. And I walked into this bloke's office, and on his desk, he had a leaping cat, which is the Jaguar, the logo. And I looked at this piece and I said, what is that? I said, I know it's a leaping cat, but what kind of wood is it? He said, pick it up. And I picked it up on my life, and it was very light, and you knew it wasn't a piece of wood. It's actually a piece of plastic. And he painted it. And I went, you painted that? He said, yeah. He said, look, come in here. And he went over and he showed there was a Bentley, I forget what kind of, you know, new car it was, that they were building this car show. And he said, see all the wood veneer? I painted that. It's plastic. Wow. Oh, okay. So the guy got a 3D printed leaper, and he painted it. And I said, by the way, I said, do you think you could like to paint a drum set for me? So he was a big fan of the bands, and he jumped at it. Wayne Saunders, he actually lives over in Arizona now, I think. He custom builds bikes and stuff, but he painted that all airbrush, one of a kind drum set. So that was the beginning of me developing a drum set with different artwork on to suit the particular tour, right? You know, and what happened was we get a company called Hangman who do all of our drapes and do the most amazing artwork on the drapes and whatnot. And a guy called Sammy, he does an artist's impression of what the stage set's going to look like and how they're going to build it. So they kind of do a little model of it, and then they'll send that to me, and I'll come up with what I like, the ideas I like, and Sam will send me some artwork ideas based upon what I want to see in the drum set, and then I'll okay, and I'll make a short list of 2 different, you know, whether I want black hardware, gold hardware, or regular silver chrome, and I'll send it to Steve. And I do that out of respect, because Steve said to me, "You have your domain, Nick. That's your set. That's your art piece. That is your platform. You do what you like." But because it's Steve's band, I, out of respect, will send it to him and go, "What do you think of that?" And he goes, "I don't mind either of them. Your choice."
That's nice.
Perfect.
Normally,
I liked yesterday when we were at your house, the gong artwork.
oh, the gong, yes. Now,
That was so impressive. I
Yeah.
didn't know what that was. I said, "Wow, that's a pasty gong," but
yeah,
it was amazing. I mean, the artwork on the drum kit was beautiful.
yes.
Sure.
The gong was so intricate.
Yeah, so that Book of Souls, Carmine's talking about the Book of Souls drum set, which was the Sonor SQ2, which was the medium shelled 9-ply, and the visual of the whole thing with that Book of Souls is about the Mayans and the Aztec. Where did they go? How did they? You know, their culture was amazing. They loved the gold. They, you know, gold was very sacred to them. And of course, I had the calendar. So on the bass drum, which you didn't really see it, but it had the Mayan calendar on the top where the tom-tom holder goes through.
Right.
You could see the actual artwork around the outside of the tom holder. But I then transferred that and put it on a gong. I thought, right, this would be great. So I've had a number of gongs painted over the years by a guy called John Douglas, whom I'm sure, Ron, you may have heard of John, Vinny as well. I don't know if you have, Carmine, because you didn't see
No.
Johnny Douglas was worked with Alex Van Halen for like 24 years. First 24 years, he was his main guy, but he's also in his own right an incredible artist. And so I got to hear about him through Kelly Piesty, funny enough. And so she said, "Oh, I know someone who can paint your gong." So he painted a number of gongs, and that one he actually hand painted the Mayan calendar, but I put the Jaguar growler.
In the middle.
Right, we Eddieized him, you know.
Yeah.
And it was a functioning gong. I mean, although it was painted, I still used it, which was. And some of the other gongs that I've used, I had a 50-inch that he painted for. I think it was the somewhere back on tour. He painted blue and white.
And you're endorsed by Pasty, and they make the best gongs.
Oh, without a doubt, without a doubt.
And I'll see that you'll use 2, 3, or maybe even more gongs in the show.
Oh yeah, well on this Legacy tour that we did the last couple of years, Legacy of the Beast. Okay, so Bruce came up with this idea about 4 or 5 years ago. Was we always pre-plan, you know, a couple of years before things get. You know, are we going to, you know, this tour is there was no album to promote. We did the Book of Souls, then we went straight into Legacy. So for a couple of years prior, there were all these plans being drawn up, i.e. the freaking inflatable Spitfire that comes out at the beginning of races. It's 2/3 the real size of a fucking.
Spitfire! That's three times in your out. Shut him up.
So yeah, there we go. This is insane. So the idea was we wanted to do this really spectacular stage show. So the idea was it was going to be set in a cathedral, which this set, when you look at the back, you see all these columns. This is the cathedral in ruins because it's in the war, so it's representing war. So if you see on the monitor system there's a piece of camouflaged. It's obviously slipped off the rest of it. Somebody need to get spanked with that. But it's camouflage all around the back of the stage, and there's a net that goes in front of my drum set to camouflage me, because in the next realm, this is the war realm in the cathedral. The next realm is the actual. This is it. You can't really get a good idea of what's going on. This is still the war zone, because this is the trooper. In the next realm, we go into the cathedral in all its glory, with all the stained glass. Look at these windows on the side. Wow. So that motif on the stained glass is on my bass drum. It's also on the gong. So it's the big one, gong, and then the bass drum. So I wanted to have this concept of everything coming down into that.
Yeah.
Now on this image here, you'll see I've got a black gong, right? Mm-hmm. That black gong is up there for only at the beginning for the war zone. This was a promo clip that we did showing introducing the drum set. So we didn't have John Douglas hadn't he painted the gong, and it took forever because there's so much detail in it. Wow. When you hit it, it's like boom, boom, boom. There's nothing, no resonance because there's so much paint on it. So the war zone starts off with a black gong. The cathedral zone and stage sets off. Then we swap the gong, and we put this artwork of of that. You can't really see the gong in this, but they the round window.
Beautiful colors.
Oh, it's stunning. Now, when you see all the different eddies in the stained glass, what I did was I took the eddies that are in the stained glass and put them on the drums.
Right.
Stained glass.
Right.
So you can imagine if we're in the war zone, which is all dark and camouflage, that is garish. Having that drum set revealed at the war zone. So that's why we put the camouflage netting up.
Yeah.
And then after we did this one, I went to a red gong because it represented the basically hell in the church, and everything's red. And look at that shot. That is immense, isn't it? That's kind of the cross.
Now I have a question. Where is that drum set now?
That drum set is in the warehouse because I changed. I left Sonor last year and went with this lot.
Right, your lot.
You see that lovely logo, boys and girls? Yes, you see. Almost looking as me. So I jumped ship from Sonor and went with the British Drum Company. Now, the guys that make the British Drum Company, it's exactly the same. All the artwork is on the drum. The only thing that's different is it's a maple shell instead of beechwood. This is beechwood, you see, but I've gone with maple, and it's got it's black oak interior. Ooh.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So the first laminate inside is actually well, not the first laminate. The last laminate is black oak. Now,
who's the guy sitting on the bass drum?
Oh, that's Sooty.
Sooty.
It's Sooty. Oh, haven't you heard of Sooty, Vinny? Oh my goodness, yeah.
No.
Okay, there's a quick story behind this. Sorry, Carmine. It's make a long story even longer, Nick. Why don't you?
Oh, right.
In 87, I got a phone call from the BBC, and they said we were originally going to have Ian Pace on the show. Because it's a kids' show, it's a puppet show, and the bloke has his hand up the arse end of a puppet, and then he got Sweep, right? And these were the two main characters of the. I mean, when I was growing up, the guy who was then doing this show in '87, his father started this show out like 50 years prior to it. So I was a baby when I used to see this on TV, black and white, of course. Anyway. They phoned us. Ian Pace was supposed to do the show, but he can't make it. Would you like to appear on the Sooty show? And I thought, our manager might not think that's a bad idea, but then he might, again, we're playing in this massive heavy rock band. Is it the sort of thing he wants his drummer to do? So Rod actually conducted. He said, what a bloody great idea, Nicky. He said, you got your 5-year-old son, young Nicky, and he'd be so bloody chuffed going to school, and his mates are going, your dad on the footy show. So off I went, and I played this gig, right? And I did this drum battle with Sooty. And basically, the premise of the story was they were entering the church talent competition. They didn't have a drummer, but they needed a drummer because Sooty conducted because he didn't speak. So the thing is, I had his hand up the glass end of the puppet, and then Sooty, imagine I got the puppet here, and he go, yeah, really? Nicko's a really handsome drummer, you know. So the thing never spoke. Right? It was really cool. Genius move.
Do you think that could possibly replace Eddie at some point?
Well, here's the thing. We did a spell of shows in '88 on the Seventh Son tour, and I think we did 5 nights at Hammersmith. And on the last night, Phil McIntyre, who was promoting, went and found a life-size Sooty suit. Soot. And I kid you not, we're jamming, and this freaking rope ladder appeared. I thought somebody hasn't tied up the rope ladder up the top in the lighting truss, right? This thing's come hurling down, just missing the drum set, right? And it's swaying about, and I'm playing, and I've looked up, and I saw this massive big brown foot appear, and then another one. And as it came down, it was dark up in the lighting truss until you get down below the lights, right? Wow. Giant Sooty. I should have got you to get a picture of it. There's a couple on Facebook, I think. So this big Sooty came down, and he's dancing with Bruce, and then we get off and we get the encore. So
you're saying there is a chance.
So this is the reason I've got Sooty on my bass drum. The first gig we did was in Scotland, in Glasgow. And instead, like the most, Vin, when the kids are saying, Sabbath, Dio, Blue Murder, Maiden. It was Sooty. We're all on the side of the stage. We're going, let's shouting out Sooty. And on my life, we went on stage, usually have a bit of intro music, and then, I get on the drum set and, count it off, and the boys run out. All of these Sooties came flying up on stage. It must have been 100. And so that Sooty that you see on my bass drum is one of the collection that we got back in 1988.
Wow.
And then what happens is, talking about my artwork on the drums, Natasha, our wardrobe girl, she dresses each Sooty to the theme of the tour. So that's why that Sooty's got the trooper outfit on and the military garb. You know what I mean?
I see. But
that's the story of Sooty.
These drum kits that you have with this beautiful artwork, and we touched on it a little bit earlier on Carmine's question, but I'd love to know. I mean, after every tour, you've got these great, incredible, unique pieces of art.
Yeah.
What happens to all of those? Are they all in some warehouse? Do you get?
They certainly are. They certainly are. Yeah. I made one big mistake when way back in late '80s. I sold my first touring kit I had with Maiden, which was a Sonophonic 9-ply heavy shell. I mean, this is the old.
Yeah, those are hard. Those are hard to play.
Yeah, they were like 9-ply, but they were like 5/8 of an inch thick, and they weighed a ton. I mean, these drums were the new way of doing these plies and strengthening the woods. It's totally different. They're very thin shells, but I sold it. What a fool! But my management, they turned around and got really upset with me and going, "You do realise that we have to, we got to go and buy a warehouse just to store your gear." Oh, nothing to do with the massive turbo PA system that we owned. It's a warehouse, it's got like a whole warehouse for itself, So no, I do have, and the problem is that there's such a large drum set with the gong and all the hardware cases that go along with that kit. There's like 5 large, fairly largish road cases. So each drum set's got like 5 or 6 boxes, and they take a lot of room. You know,
you got to have an art show.
Yeah,
of just your drum set somewhere.
Yeah,
a traveling Nicko art show of
why don't we do something?
First one.
Ron,
I'll be the first to host
it. Theater, right? Why don't we do this? I mean, the only thing is, for you guys, it's not so. I mean, I've got the Book of Souls drum set here. I do have the Dance of Death drum set, but unfortunately, my warehouse got robbed last year, man. And the bloke stole my Dance of Death gong, which was hand painted by the same guy that did the Gimme Head kit. Yeah. And like the bass drum was stolen, the floor tom, and the gong. The rest of the drums, all the hardware went. So any of you boys and girls out there see that Dance of Death drum set, I know the gong got sold on eBay, and I'm waiting for the police. I'm still waiting for the police to find all my stolen shit that basically one pawn shop got rid of. So there was my Sona vintage kit, my black Camco. I had a 26-inch bass drum. You remember the 2020 floor he was talking about, Carmine?
Yeah.
2020 floor tom. I had a 16x16 mounted tom. 14 by 14 mounted. And the 26-inch bass drum was 14-inch deep. That went missing. My Signia Premier drum set. I ain't going to go on, but we should do a show. We should go and exhibit our touring kits.
I'm in. That
would be cool. But the problem there is getting my stuff over to America. It costs a fortune. Maybe we could buy a container. I think they're like $2,000.
We'll make it happen. Hey, you know, the Iron Maiden stage shows, I mean, definitely, if not the best, one of course, the top theatrical presentations in rock and roll that's even tries to be imitated by the bands out today and just by everybody. Just incredible theatrics. And you do a lot of pyrotechnics, as you can see right here. But didn't you have a little bit of a challenge with a flamethrower or something?
Well, yeah, it does have something to do with the bloke who's actually holding them. So here's the thing, right? That's from a track called Flight of Icarus. And this was one of Bruce's wild ideas a few years ago. He said, I know, I'll come out with a couple of flamethrowers and I'll start firing it up, and like that's burning Icarus's wings, and he's going to fall out of space, out of the sky, right? Oh, that sounds like a great idea. So what he does is, the cheeky little bugger. See, he's up on the riser behind me. I didn't realise this until I watched a couple of YouTube gigs back. He actually would get his left hand and he'd move over close to the drum, to the edge of the, where the steps are that he climbed up to get to this thing. And he'd like be firing this flame at me. And every night he'd be getting a little closer. And, sometimes you don't really feel the heat because you're so hot. It's only when the real big pyros go up you feel like you're in an oven. And I must admit, a couple of nights, and he would do it, and he'd scarper and he'd move over. And I pulled him up about it, and I said, "Oi, what do you think you're doing?" And he just like, mate, and I'm like, it's all right, but you thinking it looks great. I mean, you're going to burn me hair off your twice, So he's a right little. He's a bit of an hooligan, right? I've got to be honest with you, Bruce. This is what Bruce is like, right? You get into the elevator, right? The door shuts, and this will be him, right? I don't know if you can see that. Arms folded, right? His little face. He's covered. And he's the worst parter in the band. Next to myself, my nickname's Boomer. Nothing to do with right? And the thing is, you're captured in the lift sign of the cross. Look at the majestic. Like see those flames behind the drums. When they go up, you really feel the heat.
You really feel that.
Yeah,
When I was with Ozzy, we had the riser that went down in front of the stage, and a few times the riser didn't work. And at the end of my solo, they would shoot that off. I could actually feel the hair on my arms burning. Yeah. Because it's so hot.
Yeah, those they're queued up. I mean, but Bruce, he'd just be firing these things off, sort of, So, you know, he's a right little hooligan when he's. This is the great thing to go back, Ron, to your earlier question about how much fun we have. We just have so much fun on stage, and I miss a lot of it because I'm cocooned in my drum box and in my drum world. You know, I'm usually got my head down, and you know, there's not a lot of eye contact like in the old days when you're learning playing with the bass player to your left. Yeah. The drums are not the riser, you know, in those days. You remember those guys when you look at each other and there'd be that eye contact. Guys would come around the front of the drum set. They didn't have to climb up freaking stairs and whatever. It was important, you know. You get the vibe off of each other. Yeah. But, you know, we've been playing and doing these songs, and even the new stuff. You know, we practice it a lot, and we don't need the cues of the music. You don't need to look at each other to know where you're at. But Bruce, he's a right little minx. He gets in. We got on this show. There's "Hello Be Thy Name," right? And there's this rope that comes down with a noose on it. And he's one night he said to the guy, I know he did. He swings it. He gets up there and he's got this cage. He sings him behind like he's in jail. I'm waiting in me cold cell. Wah! When the bells begin to chime, and just before he goes in the box, he gets this rope and he swings it. Well, it comes over in front of the drum set, but it's usually at a height where I'll have to look up to see it. Well, this one night he swung it, and I think the blokes let the motor, the pulley motor, and it's gone down, and this thing's come down, and it's hitting his cymbals. I'm not playing the cymbals. It's just like I'm playing a bell. You know, it's usually a tubular bell, but Mike Kenny does that on the keyboards on the back. In the old days, I used to put a CD and E tubular bell up and hit it. Oh, I love that. You know, and hit my 13-inch heavy bell on my drum. Bing, go waiting in me comes out. Bing, the bell's beating and shine and all that bollocks. So his ropes come flying across, hurled into me cymbals. You know what it's like, right? When you've got your right cymbal set and it moves. Now, my ride cymbal is set, so there's a quarter of an inch at the bottom of it to my 15-inch tom. Oh, 14-inch tom. So this thing's now sitting on the freaking drum head. And I ain't even kicked off the song yet. So I thought, oh, okay, I'll have to move that. Well, the trouble is, when you're trying to lean over a 14 and 15 tom to move a cymbal, which weighs half a ton anyway, with a stand on it, I just yanked it and moved it. And then Charlie, my drum tech, got, what's going on? What's going on? No, don't worry about it. Leave it. Bruce for you. He's always messing around. And in the old days, he'd come up and pull cymbals away from me. Like I've got my main go-to cymbal on my left side is an 18-inch heavy crash, and there's a 20 above, and a 16 down here, and then a 19 and a 17, or actually a 15 at the back. But he doesn't go at the back. I don't really get around that far because I'm a bit too old now. I have to think about it. Go, well, I'm going to hit that 15 in a minute. Yeah, okay, that'll do. How about the 6-inch then?
Nicko, let me ask you a question. You've been doing this upwards of 50 years, even though you don't look it, but doing it upwards of 50 years, been traveling the world. I ask this question of all our guests. Right. What is there that is...
Here it comes.
Drum roll.
It's a drum roll, yeah. What is near and dear to your heart, a piece of memorabilia, a gift, something that's so important to you that if your house, God forbid, was on fire right now, you would grab that before running out?
Well, Carmine, I've got to tell you, boys, Vinny, he said to me yesterday after I told him this story, he went, great story, Nick. He said, could you make it a little shorter? Don't make it. So now here's the price. So before I tell you this,
tell him what you got. Tell him what you got first.
Well, you know what I was saying to you earlier about me being forgetful. You know, I'm getting a little old. Not as old as Carmine, of course, but Vinny, you like that one?
I like it.
So, okay, so it's a pair of drumsticks by Mike that were made by Mike Bolter for Buddy Rich. Buddy Rich actually gave me. He asked the guy to go and get a pair of sticks to give to me when I met Buddy. Now, over the last few years, I put those drumsticks somewhere safe so I wouldn't forget where they are.
Uh-oh.
I tore my house after Carmine went and I had some dinner with the wife, and I said, I'm going to have to go and have a look for these drumsticks. I said, I think they're in the drawer in the brown bedroom, along with this pair of sticks that Alex Van Halen gave me. And I've gone into this drawer; they're not there. I turned my house upside down last night. I could not find them.
Oh,
and so I'm very.
So if you had a fire.
No, they'd go up. They'd probably go up, and you know what would happen? I would remember where they were.
Yeah, right.
You know, but here's the thing. It's a mystery, because they were very cherished, and I left them I thought I'd left them, but my wife said, "Do you remember perhaps putting them somewhere safe, better than that drawer that you had with these other drumsticks and all these bits?" And I said, I don't really know if I did or not, but I'm thinking I did, and I've forgotten where I put them.
Oh, man.
Let's call Kathy Rich up. I'm sure she's got some laying around the house.
Well, you never know. But the thing was that so the story was this, and I'm going to tell the story, Carmine. If it takes an hour or two, I don't care. No, I'm going to tell you. But poor old Vinny's sitting there going, "Oh, I ain't going to get a word in it."
No, I was going to tell you, I got one of John Bonham's drumsticks, and for 30 years I kept it in my sock and underwear drawer, and I never lost it.
Yeah, there you go. Now
you see it every day. You see it every day.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I gotta put that down.
I don't keep my socks with my skivvies.
You don't wear socks. You're barefoot.
Don't stop. Listen, there's another thing. Harry Harris always gets on my case. Can't you afford a pair of skin socks, Nick? Right? And I'm going, no, I don't know. I wear flip-flops, mate, and I play barefoot. What do I want a pair of socks for? I do wear socks when I like a lot of golf. I like to play golf, so I have to put my shoes on. You've got to have a pair of socks. But no, I've got a sock drawer and I've got a skivvy drawer.
Look in there; they might be in there.
I pulled the whole lot out, everything. Maybe they're bound up somehow. I actually have a safe. I have a firearm safe. I thought, if I put them in there, I'll go and have a look. No, it's not in there. I went up in my attic where I got a few.
Wow.
They'll turn up. But I'll tell you the story. We were playing on tour 1986. I had a party in New York for my birthday, so this was around June 5th. I think that must have been the 7th or 8th. We came down to LA from New York. I'm coming up La Cienega in this limo with the wife. We pull on the Sunset Strip. There's the Comedy Store sign. Tonight only. Buddy Rich and his orchestra.
Wow.
I said to the bloke, "Stop the car."
Yeah.
And we're like 50 feet from the Mondrian Hotel, which is literally over the road from the Comedy Store. Well, not over, it's like catty corner to it. So anyway, the bloke says, he said, I'm going to pull into the hotel. I said, no, stop. I'm getting car now. I'm getting out. So I'm on the driver's side. I've opened the door, nearly got the door knocked off from the bloke coming up the other way of Sunset Street. People beeping there, all moaning and groaning. I'm out like a light. I'm straight out across to the Comedy Store. I go into the Comedy Store, said to the wife, when you get in, I said, when you get in, you go and check in, I'll come in and see you in a minute. So I go out to the girl at there's a little schematic of all the seats in the Comedy Store. And it's a half-moon stage, and there's about 4 or 5 of these two-top tables in front of the stage. So I think to the girl, see that little table there with the 2 chairs, stage left? She said, yeah. I said, can I buy it? I want to reserve that. She said, no, it's first come, first serve. So I thought, I've seen this in movies. So I got a $100 bill out, and I said, here, I'll give you that. Yeah. And she said, no, I can't. It's first come, first serve. And honestly, I thought, could I stretch to 200? Nah, bollocks to that. I mean, I was getting a few bob, but I had $200 in 1986 is quite a few bob, So I thought better of it. So I said, all right, okay. So what time is the door open? She said 7 o'clock. I legged it straight across the road again. Nearly got run over twice this time. Once from the roads going that way and once from the cars going the other way. So I'll get into it, and the missus is just getting into the lift, elevator. I said, babe, hang on a minute. I went over to the reception. I said, excuse me, what room we got? She said, you're upstairs on the top floor. You got a suite downtown. Okay, fine. Have you got anything overlooking the common floor, on the corner? Yes, we have a room, but we don't have a suite. I said, don't matter. My missus is, you having a laugh? I'm going to the suite. I said, well, all right, well, I'll get my own room then. She saw the funny side of it. Came. I sat at the window, and I thought, as soon as I see a bloke coming up or anybody who's standing at, the doorway, I'm off. Two fellas turned up about 5:10. I'm down there like fucking rain down a drain pipe. Off I go. Stood there. 7 o'clock turns up. I comes to open the door because the doors were locked. There's this crowd of people, must have been 60 people, all started to push to try and get in. And I stopped the bloke, so I held the door and I said, here, you lot, these two fellas are going in before me. Then I'm going in with the missus. You lot, then you can fight amongst yourselves. And they were like, oh, this moaning and groaning. The bloke who's opened the door is having a laugh. He's having a fit. He opens the door. The first two fellas go in. They get up, and I think, please don't take that table, stays left. Right? So I go and get the tickets. Me and the missus, we go and sit down. But anyway, they didn't sit at the table. I had the table. And the reason I wanted to sit at that table, my missus was sitting on my, as you looked at the stage, on the left of the table, I'm on the right. So every time Buddy counted off a song, he didn't have a set list, he counted off a number. He's holding your eye out, giving it a bit of this. Hey, 28. Did you hear all the guys getting all the sheet music? Oh, change my mind, 32. Right? And he was a right lad. So I thought every time he's looking over the eye, he'll be looking at me. See, looking at him. Right? That's what I think. Anyway, we do the show. He was doing 2 shows that night, and it was an amazing show. Absolutely, my wife and I we were just. It was Ed Shaughnessy was there. Carter. Who else? Oh gosh,
Louis.
No, I don't think Louis, Greg Bisson there. But I was in heaven. Buddy comes up after the first show. Says, "I would like. I've had such a blast tonight. I want to invite everybody in this room to stay for our second show. If you want to stay, please do." Well, half of the people probably stayed. All the big, the guys all buggered off, So, me and Mrs. stayed. Just before Buddy's second set, this guy comes on. Actually, no, the first set, the guy comes on. He's got a bass saxophone. I've never seen a bass saxophone in my life. Massive big thing is. And it comes on, and he's at the front. He's a front horn section, right? And he's about 2 feet, if that, from the side of the stage. And there's me sitting there. And he's walked on. I said, "Excuse me, mate, what's that?" "Hey, that's a bass saxophone, laddie." I went, "Oh, bloody Scotty." "Hey, you wee Sassenach," he goes. So we struck up this rapport, right? So anyway, he's put his bass sax down. And he said to me, "Do you know the Beatles song, I'm a Walrus?" I said, "Yeah, that's the very sax that was on." I went, "Oh, wow. Not only am I going to see Buddy Rich play, I'm sitting right next to the I'm a Walrus sax." No, I've never seen it in my life. So anyway, second show, he turns around and said, "Do you mind if my girlfriend joins you?" No problem. So this was the beginning of how things panned out at the end of the second show. So his girlfriend joined us. We ended up in a great night. Buddy was on fire. The second show, they leave the stage. A few minutes later, actually about 10 minutes later, Jay, the sax player's name was Jay Craig. And Jay turned up and he said, "Come with me." He said, "There's someone who wants to meet you." So me and the missus pop off. We go to the backstage, go into this room. Buddy's in the corner. He's got his toweling robe on, towel around his neck, BR written on the pocket. Buddy, right? Yep. He stands up. He shook my hand, and he said, "I love your work." And I went,
"Wow!"
I didn't actually do that, but I felt my inside. What the fuck? Right? And he said, "I love you." He said, "You got a lovely right foot." And I'm like, "Oh God!" I said, "Hey, buddy, we trying to hug, we do that bit, get that." And I said, "By the way," I said, I started to tell the story I've just told you. And I said, I wanted to sit at that table so you'd be watching me, watching you. And he went, and he's grabbed hold of my missus, right? He's put a lip lock on her. I mean, a proper, one of them, right? Not, how you doing, Scott Pierce? And I'm, typical drummer. And he said, I wasn't looking at you. I was looking at her. Anyway, that was
great story.
So anyway, sticks. He asked. He had a minder guy he sent off, and he came back, and I had this pair of Buddy's drumsticks, which maybe I could ask Buddy to direct me to him, please, mate. I mean, they were Mike Bolter sticks, and I was quite surprised because they're very light. They're like not an E, but maybe a C stick. I don't know weight wise, but they were quite light sticks. Yeah,
that's how he goes so fast.
Yeah, unbelievable. I mean, that right. And what always amazed me was, and I'd seen Gene and Louis do these sort of things where they had the stick underneath the hi hat, and we do. Like 30-second note.
Yeah.
You got the different tonality from the bottom cymbal to the top. There's a slightly different note type sound in it. So you'd get this percussive, the hi-hat, and when he'd open it, wow. Carmine, you love that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Really, we're all we're all hi-hat. That's such an underrated instrument within the instrument. And it was amazing the speed of that, the way he controlled that left stick.
Yeah, amazing.
And
Nicko, when you come through Chicago, we have a golf game ready. Unfortunately, though, because of all the things that are going on, the Argentine tour has been moved to June of 2021.
Right.
So you're gonna have some. Maybe you come over earlier. I'll make you some meatballs. We'll have some fun.
I've heard about your meatballs.
Yeah.
I didn't know. I said meat before, right? Fair enough.
Well, I thought,
thanks, mate. Yeah.
We'd love to have you here, guys. This has just been incredible. 2.5 hours. Really had a great time with you guys. Once again, Nicko, thank you so much for joining us. Carmine, Vinny, you guys, legends. I'm so honored and blessed to be part of this Artists on Lockdown project. I want to thank our producer, Ben Wheeler, is doing such a great job. Of course, Steve Love from Love Productions, who put this all together. And everybody out there, make sure you share, make sure you like, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube page.
And next week, we got his old boss, Pat Travers.
Travers on this show, Artists on Lockdown. Nicko, all the best from all of us across the pond to you. Stay safe, stay healthy. We love you very much. All the best to you, man.
Yeah, appreciate it, Ron. Carmine, I'll see you in the next day or two. Vinny, need to see you too. Safe and well. Yeah. Don't forget, keep washing them hands. Yeah. Right? Sing yourself happy birthday and then sing it again.
Cheers, man.
Love you loads. Thanks so much. It's been great. Thank you, Ben.
Bye, guys. Bye, Nicko. Take care.
Bye-bye, bro.
Bye-bye.